Welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. As usual, we ask the question, what is the enrichment from today's session? What is it going to be? As usual, you will improve your comprehension skill. Today also a familiar topic, but a different perspective altogether. Enrichment of vocabulary, grammar consolidation, effective English, a few idioms here and there. And let us start the session with the question, what is this editorial about? This editorial discusses the implications of election time incarceration. If you guys remember, we have got this word already. Implications also we have got. Consequences, ramifications, implications of election time incarceration, imprisonment of political leaders on the democratic process in India. What is the impact of incarceration of political leaders on the democratic process in India? What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is a critical and concerned. One is critical, the other one is concerned. Let us start with editorial vocabulary. Confinement, very good. Incarceration, part of speech, noun. We got this word last week as well, meaning the state of being confined in prison, imprisonment, exact word. Synonyms, imprisonment, confinement, detention, custody. All these are familiar words now. Antonyms, freedom, release, liberty. Look at the example. The judge sentenced him to 5 years of incarceration for the crime he committed. 5 years, thank you very much. 5 years of incarceration, imprisonment. Adverse also we have got so many times. Part of speech adjective, adverse impact, adverse consequences, adverse effects, preventing success or development, harmful, unfavorable. These are better words. Synonyms, unfavorable, disadvantageous, detrimental, an important word. But detrimental also means dangerous and harmful. Dangerous, harmful, simple words. Detrimental, a better word. Adverse report, a typical combination I usually give. Antonyms, favorable, beneficial, advantageous. Simple words. Example, the adverse weather conditions force the cancellation of the outdoor event. New combination, adverse weather conditions. You can also say adverse weather, no problem. Parity, part of speech, noun. The state or condition of being equal, especially regarding status or pay. At the same level, we use the word parity. Synonyms, equality, equivalence, uniformity, sameness, all simple words. Antonyms, inequality, disparity, an important word. Parity, what is opposite? Disparity, imbalance. Look at the example. The company is committed to ensuring pay parity between men and women. Between men and women, more or less the same payment package, parity. Entitled, an important word, we have got a few, commensurate, very good, Naidu. I appreciate that. Entitled, part of speech, adjective. Entitlement, noun form. Believing oneself to be inherently deserving of privileges or special treatment. You feel you deserve special treatment or special rights or privileges, entitled to something. Deserving, privileged, authorized, warranted. Warrant has two or three meanings. One meaning, arrest warrant. But look at this example. The situation warrants something. Here, warrants means demands something. The situation warrants immediate action. Means what? The situation demands immediate action. Antonyms: undeserving, unprivileged. She felt entitled to. Do remember the prepositional combination? Entitled takes a preposition to. Entitled to a promotion because of a long tenure at the company. Tenure means a term. When we talk about a particular CM or the PM, how long is the tenure? Means the time period they're going to be in power. That's also an important word. Pre can be a noun, and here pre noun, pledge, related word, and meaning a request made in an urgent and emotional manner, but it could be a legal term. In law, a formal statement by or on behalf of a dependent. What is the opposite of dependent? Try to respond. In the meantime, I'll read out synonyms and antonyms. Synonyms: appeal, request, entreaty, petition. Three words are easy, one is important. Antonyms: demand, order. The defendant made a plea of not guilty to the charges. Not guilty, innocent. No one has responded. What is the opposite of I asked a question? Plea in a formal law, a formal statement. What is the opposite of dependent? Very good. Plaintiff. Only a few know this word. I appreciate plaintiff. 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 Perfect. Durga Rao. Yes. Laundering, part of speech noun, it can also be a verb, meaning the process of concealing, means hiding, the origins of money obtained illegally by transfers involving foreign banks or legitimate businesses. You get money illegally, but you try to transfer that amount through legal channels. That is known as money laundering. We have got many a time. But actually, it is nothing but cleaning, cleansing, washing. Cleansing, washing when literal. This is a literal meaning. Laundry, launder. Concealing, hiding when referring to money. Two different meanings. Literal meaning, washing and cleansing. But when it refers to money, concealing or hiding. Based on that, what is the opposite of conceal or hide? Expose, reveal, disclose, all these. Example, he was arrested on charges of money laundering after a lengthy investigation. Stringent goes with rules, policies, of regulations, one more combination, requirements or conditions, strict, precise, and exacting. Usually we say stringent rules means very strict rules. Synonyms are strict, rigorous, an important word, severe, demanding. Antonyms, lenient, an important word, flexible, relaxed, easy. Spill the beans, yes. Example, the new regulations are much more stringent than the previous ones. Flee, fled, fled. This also we have got meaning run away from a place or situation of danger. Stringent action, very good. Escape, run away, bolt, abscond. Last time also I brought the same words, if you remember. Bolt can be a noun, can be a verb. Other meanings are there. It goes with, they go with door. Antonyms: stay, remain, be static. Example, when the fire alarm sounded, everyone was told to flee the building immediately. Elope has a different meaning. Last time also, I think you gave the same word. That has a different meaning altogether. Elope means to run away. Here only run away. But elope means run away with the girlfriend or the boyfriend. What is a stimulus? Crime and time. Crime and time. Here time refers to elections, general elections. On election time, incarceration. Imprisonment of important leaders at the time of elections. It's all about that. If you guys remember, last week I did one about Kejriwal, and he got the bail. And this is about a different political leader, Jharkhand, former CM, and a different case altogether. Based on that, this has been written. What is the main idea? Election time incarceration adversely affects democratic spirit. That means the editorial has taken a negative stand. It says, conveys election time incarceration, arresting at the time of elections, imprisonment at the time of elections, adversely affects. Affect is a verb. Effect can be a verb, can be a noun. Democratic spirit. Let us see what it is about. Any inconsistency in judicial decisions is bound to be seen as unequal application of rules. Inconsistency. In the case of Mr. Kejriwal, he got the interim bail. In the case of Soren, Hemant Soren hasn't got the bail yet. In a way, it is inconsistency. Editorial opines. And it says it is not, it is bound to be seen as unequal application of rules. There is a saying in English, what is it? A rule is a rule for all. We cannot change the rules. We cannot mend the rules. A rule is a rule for all. But here, inconsistency in judicial decisions is bound to be seen, an important expression, as unequal application of rules. To justify this statement, on the principle of parity here means the principle of equality. What is the backdrop information? Arvind Kejriwal got the interim bail, same treatment, equal on the principle of parity. Former Jharkhand Chief Minister Hemant Soren, who leads the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, is arguably entitled to interim bail to enable him to campaign in his home state for the next phases of the general election. Why did Arvind Kejriwal get the bail? To enable him to campaign for general election. Same principle is applicable to Hemant Soren as well. That's what the editorial says. This is the main idea. So that he can campaign in his home state for the next phases of the general election from May 20th. Background information, Mr. Soren was arrested on January 31st. It was only last week that the Supreme Court of India underscored the importance of the general election to grant bail to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal up to the end of the polls. I did one editorial, you all know that. Only last week he got the bail, the Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal, because the Supreme Court of India underscored, highlighted the importance of the general election to grant bail to Delhi CM Arvind Kejriwal up to the end of the polls. Although the opinion was based on the peculiarities of the person in question and the surrounding circumstances, same words were used that time also. A principle did emerge from that ruling that key leaders could be allowed to campaign in the interest of electoral democracy. Based on that judgment, a principle emerged. What is that principle? To keep up the spirit of democracy, key leaders could be allowed to campaign. That means they could be granted interim bail in the interest of electoral democracy. However, the court chose a position that it first needs to hear the other side. Coming to the case of Jharkhand CM, however, the court chose a position that it first needs to hear the other side. Well, who is on the other side? The Enforcement Directorate in this case. Even though it favored a hearing in the week beginning May 20, it agreed to an earlier date, May 17th, preponed in a way. It is indeed a legal requirement that any order of bail can be given only after hearing the prosecution's objections. Obviously, that is a legal requirement. Without listening to the prosecution's objections, in this case, Enforcement Directorate representing ED, it cannot be justified. They have to listen to both the parties. It is indeed a legal requirement that any order of bail can be given passive voice only after hearing the prosecution's objections. In Mr. Kejriwal's case, the Supreme Court listened and rejected the center's stand. Being reminded, in Mr. Kejriwal's case, the court heard and rejected the argument that freeing a political leader solely for the purpose of canvassing votes during an election will amount to privileging or favoring the political class above other categories of people arrested for similar offences. This was a stand taken by the ED, the stand taken by the center. But the Supreme Court did not consider, heard and rejected peculiar circumstances and other reasons. It did not consider this argument. Coming to the present case, the Jharkhand High Court did not deliver judgment on the petition challenging Mr. Soren's arrest for 2 months. When it comes to the judgment, a lot of delay, 2 months, resulting in a delay in his approaching the Supreme Court. Because of that delay, did not deliver the judgment, he had to approach the Supreme Court. Ultimately, it passed an order dismissing his plea on May 3rd. Here it means the High Court passed an order dismissing his plea on May 3rd, having reserved its verdict on February 28th. Reserved for February 28th, but passed an order dismissing his plea on May 3rd. It is true that no two cases are comparable. The whole editorial talks about Kejriwal's case and Soren's case. In that case, he got the interim bail. In this case, he hasn't got yet. To what extent it can be justified? A sort of analysis. No two cases are comparable. That is quite natural. How they cannot be compared to justify that? While the Delhi Chief Minister is facing the charge of bribery in exchange for adopting an excise policy favorable to some manufacturers, Mr. Soren is accused of laundering the proceeds of crime in the illegal sale of a parcel of land to acquire property in Ranchi. One goes with a liquor policy to favor a few companies, and the second deals with laundering the proceeds of crime in the illegal sale of parcel of land. A different one, apples and oranges. With the prosecution depending mainly on approvers. Coming to Kejriwal's case, the ED depended more on the statements given by the approvers, with the prosecution depending mainly on approvers' statements against Mr. Kejriwal, and the agency banking on documentary evidence against Mr. Soren. Kejriwal's case based on approver statements. Soren's case based on documentary evidence against Mr. Soren. There may be differences in the respective merits of their cases. Definitely both are different. One is based on the statements given by the approvers. The other documentary evidence is there. We cannot compare. They're not one and the same. The strict provisions for bail in the Prevention of Money Laundering Act have the unfortunate effect of making courts consider the overall merits of a case at the bail stage itself. Because of the strict provisions, they take a different perspective and consider the overall merits of a case at the bail stage itself, whether to grant bail or not. It is unfortunate that the relatively simple act of releasing the accused against bail bonds, someone has been accused and not found guilty. Very simple, release the accused against bail bonds. It's a simple act. It is unfortunate that the relatively simple act of releasing the accused against bail bonds with attendant conditions, with some conditions to safeguard evidence and prevent them from fleeing justice, has become politically sensitive. What does the sentence say? Granting bail is a simple thing. But while granting bail, they have to put some conditions. Same thing the Supreme Court did in the case of Arvind Kejriwal. Two dimensions here, conditions. One, safeguard evidence. The other, the accused should not flee from justice. but unfortunately, this has become politically sensitive. Main idea is being reiterated. Election time reincarceration, election time incarceration, which renders the playing field disadvantageous to the affected parties. If you guys remember, last time we got one expression, level playing field. Here, election time incarceration, which renders the playing field disadvantageous to the affected parties. Obviously, the main person is in prison, they cannot campaign. The campaigning takes a backseat. The whole situation becomes chaotic, adversely affects the democratic spirit. This is the main idea. What is the main idea? Crime and time. At the time of elections, incarceration and not without any evidence, not convicted yet, definitely adversely affects the democratic spirit. That's all about the editorial. Join. I have before I wind up. I have launched two courses. Foundation course 2024 for all the exams. 3-in-1 English course. Earlier it was only one. I have modified. What are the three courses? Foundation course, exam topics course, roots, prefixes, suffixes course. All under foundation course. Mains 2024 English course. This is also 3-in-1. What are the three courses? Mains course, that is one thing. Descriptive English course, second thing. Interview guidance course, third thing. Please watch the video, you get all the details. Thank you very much. And join at 7:30, but today only comprehension based questions. Thank you very much. Do remember